He was the favorite, until I became the successful one. The moment the Forbes article dropped, the temperature in my family's perfect, insulated world shifted, and I felt the cold, delicious certainty of revenge. I'm Julian, 35, and for 30 years, I was the shadow, the afterthought, the one they barely noticed. He was the golden boy, the shining future. He was the favorite, until I became the successful one. The root of the imbalance wasn't malice, it was simple, profound validation. My older brother, Mark, 38, was everything my parents, Robert, 65, and Eleanor, 62, valued. He was charismatic, athletic, effortlessly popular, and he chose the predictable path of finance, a mirror of Robert's own career. His success was guaranteed, visible, and comfortable. He was their immediate, tangible return on investment, the constant source of boastful pride at every family dinner. I was the opposite. I was quiet, meticulous, analytical, and socially awkward. My obsession wasn't stocks. It was algorithmic trading and quantitative finance, a niche, obscure world of complex code and data modeling that sounded like gibberish to my parents. They didn't understand it, therefore, they didn't respect it. The comparison was constant, subtle, and crushing. If Mark got a promotion, it was a family celebration. If I successfully defended my PhD thesis, a monumental work of mathematics, Robert simply asked if I could use the degree to find a job with a normal office and a water cooler. My accomplishments were always minimized, treated as side quests that delayed the inevitable necessity of finding a real job. I remember once, when I was 25, winning a national hackathon with an incredibly innovative trading bot I designed. I tried to tell them about the complex code, the potential market disruption. Eleanor smiled vaguely and changed the subject, asking Mark if his new golf clubs had arrived. Mark, the favorite, was allowed his hobbies. I, the outsider, was only judged by my financial utility. Mark was always kind, in a detached, older brother way. He never actively diminished me, he simply accepted his role as the sun and mine as the distant, cold satellite. He was happy, genuinely happy, with his stable path, and my quiet resentment was directed not at him, but at the system, the conditional, narrow vision of success that my parents enforced, using Mark as the perfect yardstick for my failure. I was permanently cast as the cautionary tale, the one who was smart but lacked common sense. The quiet dismissal didn't break me, it hardened me. I realized that the only currency my family respected was undeniable, highly visible, public wealth. They didn't care about my code, my intellect, or my happiness, they cared about status. My goal shifted from intellectual satisfaction to achieving a success so massive, so profound, that it would force them to finally see me. I channeled the isolation and the resentment into my work. I built my own quantitative fund, Aethelred Capital, from the ground up, starting with nothing but my personal savings and the basement office I rented cheap. My work was relentless, antisocial, and utterly profitable. I worked in complete, aggressive silence. No social media, no family updates, no public filings. I wanted the reveal to be catastrophic. I made a deliberate choice. I severed all contact with my family. They had 7 years of silence from me. They had no idea where I lived or what I did. Their initial concern quickly faded into convenient silence. They preferred the convenient narrative that I had, finally burned out and taken a low-profile analyst job, rather than face the possibility of a chaotic sun disrupting their peace. My absence was their peace. During those years of isolation, I watched Mark's ascent. He got married, had 2 children, bought the bigger house, and followed the prescribed path perfectly. He was their joy, their security, their future. And every time I saw a picture of their happy, stable life, it fueled my determination to achieve a success so colossal that it would dwarf his comfortable existence. What would you do? Use your years of pain to build a bridge to reconciliation, or use it to construct a fortress of undeniable success that finally forces respect? I chose the fortress. The moment of truth arrived when I was 35. After years of explosive, proprietary growth, Aethelred Capital was too big to remain hidden. I was forced to go public with my fund's performance. The results were staggering. The story of the anonymous, brilliant quant who achieved $1 billion valuation in almost total secrecy was prime material. The profile piece, a massive, glossy feature, ran on the cover of Forbes. The headline was unavoidable. The ghost in the machine, Julian Vance, the $1.2 billion man who came from nowhere. I wasn't in the city when it dropped. I was strategically placed halfway across the world, managing a satellite office. I had planned the timing meticulously. I knew the initial shock had to hit them when I wasn't physically present to soften the blow. The calls started immediately, a frantic wave that shattered my years of carefully constructed silence. The numbers were familiar. Robert's office, Eleanor's cell, Mark's private line. I didn't answer. I simply listened to the voicemails. Eleanor's voice was high-pitched, laced with a hysteria that was a terrifying blend of panic and sheer, unadulterated triumph. Julian, oh, my God, sweetheart. We saw the magazine. Your father and I are just bursting. We knew you had that special spark. We've been telling everyone how you always had the vision. Call your mother. Your father is crying. The tears were not for my well-being. They were for the social validation I had finally provided. Robert's message was colder, professional, and utterly insulting. Julian, this is your father. There are some serious corporate governance issues we need to discuss immediately regarding your private equity holdings. And Mark needs to talk to you about synergistic opportunities. Call us back, immediately. The only thing he heard was the dollar sign. The only thing he saw was a new asset he needed to manage. The most agonizing call was from Mark. It wasn't accusatory or even jealous. It was bewildered. Julian, where have you been? Are you okay? $1.2 billion. Why didn't you ever say anything? We were worried sick. He was genuinely worried, but his words confirmed the chasm. He was worried about the ghost I had become, but he never noticed the loneliness I carried for 30 years right beside him. When I finally returned, I was no longer the invisible sun. I was the phenomenon, The atmosphere in their home had shifted violently. My presence was now highly valued, highly curated, and the subject of endless, effusive praise. Robert organized a celebration dinner, a formal affair where he introduced me to his entire network as his visionary son, repeating the new family narrative. We always knew Julian was too brilliant for the traditional path. We encouraged his independence and his innovative spirit. The narrative of the burden was replaced by the narrative of the visionary genius they had secretly nurtured. Eleanor was equally brazen. She proudly displayed the Forbes article on the mahogany table where she had once begged me to abandon my hobby. She treated me not like a son, but like a fragile, prized artifact, constantly hovering, offering me specialized meals, and demanding detailed descriptions of my investment strategies so she could parrot them at her club. The sudden affection was terrifyingly conditional. It was tied entirely to the number on the magazine cover. The painful climax came when Mark approached me. He wasn't looking for a job, he was looking for guidance. His stable, predictable world had been shaken by the market volatility I had successfully navigated. He was scared. He asked for my professional help in structuring his family's personal wealth, trusting my complex algorithmic genius over his own safe, traditional methods. I agreed to help him. I couldn't deny him the stability I had achieved, even though he was the unwitting favorite who had everything I craved. But the moment I sat down with his financial statements, I realized the ultimate, tragic irony. Mark was still fundamentally a good, kind man who prioritized his family. And in saving him, I was forced to confront the person I had become, a man who prioritized revenge and status over the simple joy of connection. I am now the successful one. I have the power, the money, and the public adoration. My parents are proud, boastful, and utterly dependent on my goodwill to maintain their elevated social status. I won the war for their respect. But the victory is hollow. The ultimate irony is that I achieved the success I prayed for, but the loneliness remains. I proved everyone wrong, yet the silence when the applause fades hurts more because there is still no one there who knew me when I was just the quiet boy in the basement. I bought their respect, but I never bought their love. The gold-plated cage I built is inescapable because the core problem wasn't their disdain, it was my own desperate need for their conditional approval. My success freed me from their financial template, but it enslaved me to their social narrative. I am forced to be their pride, a concept that requires me to maintain the lifestyle and the persona they understand, perpetuating the very cycle of conditional performance that drove me away in the first place. When the people who actively hindered your dreams suddenly return to claim ownership of the success they never believed in, do you owe them the mercy they never offered you? Or is the only true peace found in maintaining the silent, powerful distance you fought so hard to create? I am still searching for the answer, a lonely, successful ghost haunting the beautiful life I built from the bitter ashes of my own family's rejection. If this raw emotional story of envy, success, and the corrosive nature of conditional love resonated with you, please hit the like button, share this profound narrative, and subscribe to follow my journey.